Hi, I'm Sam, and this is Sam Says. Today I'm going to be talking about Lisboa. And look at this box. Just starting off, this thing is big. It is a big, big box. As you can see in front of me, though, it's big for a reason because there is a lot of stuff in this box. Put the box down. There is a lot going on in this game. I'm not going to teach you how to play. There's already a 30-minute rules video done by Paul Grogan. That's great. So if you want to learn how to play, go check that out. Because if you don't know how to play, I'm going to try to explain things as well as I can. But there's just a lot going on in this game. So bear with me. Because it may be hard for me to explain everything that I want to say to be able to get it out. So let's get started. Lisboa is a game that is based very thematically on the rebuilding of Lisbon in Portugal. So back in Portugal, and the theme plays very centrally with everything that you do in the game, and the designer Vital Lacerda, he was very insistent on making sure that the theme played out in this game, and he did a very good job with that, which I will say is pretty rare in a Euro game, and this is very much a Euro game, a very heavy Euro game. But what happened in Lisbon was they were hit by a giant earthquake, which then caused a tsunami to hit the city, as well as fires to rage on for 3 days, and the city was virtually destroyed. And the king at the time, the king of Portugal, decided that he wanted to rebuild Lisbon, because it was either you made the choice to abandon it or rebuild it, and they made the choice to rebuild it, and it's still to this day one of the greatest architectural feats in history as far as with the speed that they rebuilt Lisbon and how it got built up. So that's the basic theme of the game, and like I said, everything in this game is kind of building up towards that building. So at the beginning of the game, everyone has their little player board, and I kind of have this on top of the board because I want to show you as much as possible with this game, and my camera frame is only so big, and this board is massive, so I've kind of got it on here. And you've got a lot going on just in here. You've got these magistrates that you can send over to the nobles. You've got your houses that when you build, you'll actually be able to put those houses out. You've got your resource track here. You've got places where you can put rubble. Goods can be stored here. Cards will be played actually underneath these boards, so they'll rest up here and down there. To give you an example, like this card would be a noble card. I would slip that in. I don't have enough space with my table, but I'd slip it in right there, and it would show me this, which is how much influence the card is worth. But you got a lot going on. Everything in this game is interconnected. This game, I will say, is designed quite brilliantly. It kind of gives you an open sandbox feel in that you can do essentially whatever you want to do in this game. This game gives you an open canvas and says, go ahead and start. However, with that being said, you have to do at least a little bit of everything because all of these parts move together. The basic mechanics of this game are actually quite simple. On your turn, you do one of 3 or 4 things, and that's it. But when you do one of those 3 or 4 things, it sets in motion a series of events that the best way I can describe it is just a bunch of gears turning, which forces the other gears to turn, and it just creates a cascade of movement of what happens on the board, what happens on your player board, and what happens to the rest of the game. There's just a whole heck of a lot. And each section of the board has their own stuff that they do. So right here, this is the actual city. This is where you can buy these, which are shops. And so you can go on, these are the colors of the goods. You have gold, you have silk, you have, I think, books, and tools. So when I build one of these buildings, I'm going to place in one of these spots on there, and I'm going to face this little notch to whichever good that I want that store to produce, because that once again ties in thematically, because when Lisbon was built back up, there were streets that only dealt with certain goods, and so all of these streets, this is the gold street, that's the silk street. So if I go here I would place it and the notch is facing towards silk. So that store produces silk, and I'd get to put one of my buildings on top, showing that I own that store. Now, to pay for it is kind of an interesting thing. So once again, playing in with the theme, I have all of these cubes that line over these, and they deal with the different types of damage that was dealt to the city. The brown cubes are rubble, and that deals with damage from the earthquake. The red cube is fire damage, and that deals with damage from the fires. And then the blue cubes are water damage. Now, each of those damages have a different cost associated with building it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look across and down. Before I build it, I can choose one of these cubes, and I can put it on my player board in one of these spots. So I have the different color-coordinated spots right here. You can't really see it from your view. And then I'm going to count up the cost. And it actually lists the cost down here. So every cube that remains after you take it off, the brown ones are going to cost you 3 coins each. The red ones cost 2 coins each. And the blue cost 1 coin each. In addition, you have the treasury track here, which means your building is going to have a base cost plus that. This can be manipulated in a lot of different ways, but that's how you determine the cost. The interesting thing about this is, in this game, there is a series of, I would call it almost diminishing returns, in that typically as you go through most games, as you go through, costs increase and your powers increase and things are worth more. That is the opposite in Lisboa. Things at the beginning of the game start out as the most expensive. In addition, when you gain resources, you have this resource track. When you gain them or produce them, you're going to get the most money for them up front. And as they go down, so let's say I produced gold, this gold marker would move down on that track. This says each gold is worth 6 coins, but then all of a sudden it drops down there. And now, for the rest of the game, each gold is only worth 5 coins until it's produced or sold again. Then it drops again. Everything is going down in cost. Just like on here, as more buildings are built, more rubble is being taken away. Playing into the theme, when they built Lisbon back up, they actually used a lot of the rubble from the old buildings and put them into the new ones to be able to save cost of material. Vital, what is going on in your mind? I don't understand how you come up with the stuff that you do, how you make all of this work, but well done, because damn. I've just explained to you like 1/8% of the game, just right there, and it still blows my mind how he came up with all of this. But in addition, when I build that building, it gives me additional reward. So right there, that would mean I get to be able to take an additional rubble cube of my choice. You're trying to collect sets of rubble cubes, because sets of rubble cubes increases your capacity. So as of right now, you've got this number right here. It says 2. You can only hold 2 of every resource. In addition, you can have a maximum of 2 cards in your portfolio, is what they call it. But as I collect a full set of rubble, I get to take one of these cubes off, and all of a sudden, I increase my capacity to 3. So collecting rubble cubes help you increase your portfolio. Now, there are also other spaces on here, above and below. Oh, and I didn't put rubble cubes up there. I need to put rubble cubes there. They actually give you, the version that I have in front of me is the kind of deluxe version. So you'll see some of this stuff is going to be upgraded from the regular edition. I know these resource tiles are a little bit upgraded. I think maybe the magistrates that you have are a little bit upgraded. I'm not sure on all of the upgrades that are associated with it, but to give you an idea. So these buildings that you build, they can also be worth victory points. So this right here, this number is going to associate with how many victory points are gained when public buildings are built around that building. So public buildings go into a whole nother set of territory. You actually have to have a plan with one of the 2 main architects, which there were 2 main architects that helped to rebuild Lisbon. And you would use a plan. You'd have to pull these magistrates, which you had visited over here, pull them back, and you'd be able to take the top one, and you actually get to build a building on one of these outside spaces. So let's say I built this one, let's say this was on books instead, and I built this one right here. So when I build that there, I get to take these 2 rubble cubes and add them to my portfolio. And what this is saying is that this is saying all brown producing and all tool producing ones on this building will score. So that number is 5. This would then score 5 points. Kind of a little confusing when you first start getting into it, but it's really cool, I promise, because you're getting the architect itself matching up with the plan, but you're also having the resources match up going along with the victory point track. So where this is built, then that building would score. If this was already in place before that building was built, it would score again. And if this was built after, it scores. So you don't have to worry about people building buildings before the public buildings, because you're still going to be able to score. Now, how you do all of these actions, so how you build everything over here, that's going to be dealt with on this side of the board. So you actually have 3 main nobles, magistrates, nobles I think they're called. You've got the king, you've got the builder, and I forget this guy's magistrate something. But each of them are associated with a main giant action, and then 2 sub-actions that are there. When you're going on your turn, you're going to be able to take one of these cards from your hand. This is the base action of the game, is you're going to be placing the cards in here or discarding them or playing them here to visit the nobles, which will allow you to take all of these actions. You have a clergy track, which gives you additional ways to make yourself better, to be able to increase your ability in certain areas. And that's kind of this moving around. This is actually the victory point track as you're going around gaining wigs. You also have these decree cards. So you'll notice in a lot of Vital games, you generally start off the game with an advantage over other people as far as how you can score victory points. And a lot of times that will determine your strategy. Like in Vinhos, you start off with the special type of vineyard that really kind of tends to guide your strategy through that. Well, in Lisboa, he does not do that. He, like I said, it's more of a sandbox feel. You get more options to be able to do whatever you want to do. These decree cards here are the ones that you're going to obtain that help guide your actions to how you can score victory points better than other people. And as you can see, there's a couple of them. This is a giant stack. And so in any one game, you're not going to get anywhere close to getting through this stack. So there's a variability every single time you play. You know, the rebel cubes will be variable, but everything else on the game is pretty much set up. I'm knocking things over. Is pretty much set up the same every game, with the exception of these decree cards, and these are where you're going to get the really big variability in play. So, like this one, for example, it looks like this is probably going to give you 2 victory points, and I call them wigs. So, like this is the first player marker; it's a wig. That's the victory point symbol. 2 wigs for every completed plan from the Green Architect. I don't remember the Green Architect's name. And so if you've done a lot of plans from the Green Architect, you're like, holy cow, I should get that. Or if you do buy this, then all of a sudden your strategy is changing because you are going to want to buy the plans from the Green Architect rather than getting the plans from the Blue Architect, because you're going to get extra points for getting this. It is guiding your strategy. And there are so many of these. It's just like this one is saying, hey, you get 5 victory points if you have equal to or more plans, and I believe this is from every other player. The iconography in this game is very, very good. I will say, I've already said this is an excellent design, but I would say overall everything was done well with this game. The graphic design was done very, very well. Ian O'Toole, hats off, man. And then Eagle Griffin for producing this game. This game is very, very well produced. I mean, it's a Euro game, so you're getting a lot of cubes, but the cardboard on here is good quality. The board is good quality. Everything looks nice. The art is done well. This looks beautiful on my table. Everything in this game was produced well and designed well. I'm very, very impressed with what went on with this game. And there's so much going on. I forgot what I was saying before I got into that. Oh, these decree cards. So they are what kind of guide your strategy, and they're going to change every game and kind of help you decide what you want to be able to do. So much. I will say, this game is not one that you're just going to be able to whip out and play a quick game. This is a game where you sit down for the afternoon, or you sit down for the evening, and this will most likely be your game for the evening. Maybe you'll play a quick one. It is not one that will go quickly. It's going to take some time. The benefit to it, though, is that there are certain ways that you can follow other people's actions. So when someone goes to visit the nobles, you can pay some influence to be able to actually follow those using these tiles. And so it allows you to be involved in other people's turns. The board state, though, can change dramatically by the time that it gets back to your turn from where it ended your turn. And so you're always kind of paying attention to see, okay, what's going on? What are they doing? How is what they're doing affecting what I want to complete on my turn? There's just a lot. This rule book, it's laid out well. It's large. It's got a lot of art in it. So it's pretty appealing to be able to read and go through. It's got a lot of good examples. However, there's so much in this game that I read the rule book, and it was a bit of a bear to get through. Not because it wasn't written well, just because of everything that's going on in the game. I strongly suggest, if you're going to want to play this game, and you have some time, watch Paul Grogan's video for gaming rules, read the rule book, and then watch Paul Grogan's video again. Because it will really solidify the concepts. The first time that I played this game, I was the one who taught it. So I read the rule book, and then I went through Paul Grogan's video, and then I kind of got the rule book again, and it took me a solid hour plus to explain the rules, because I had 3 other players who had not played before. It was a bit rough. But after we did that and we played the game, everybody knew how to play and everybody had a really good time playing. So yes, it's hefty to get into it, but once you get into it, it is so fulfilling, the experience that you get out of it. Also, I will mention, so on these cards, I said the iconography is pretty good, but sometimes you look at this and you're like, I think I know what this means, but I'm not sure. I keep knocking down decree cards. Player aid book. Every player will get one of these. These are invaluable. I would have a hell of a time playing this game without this. Because what it goes off in here is it actually takes you through, hey, these are the basics of the actions. Now, obviously, it's not going to get into the nitty-gritty of every detail. That's in the big rule book. But if you're wondering, like, oh yeah, what was the other type of action that I can do in my turn? What can I do with this card? Bam, right here. Tells you. In addition, I told you there's this clergy space and these clergy tiles, which make you a little bit better at certain things than other players. Once again, the iconography is good, and you can usually get a pretty good idea of what it means, but you're not always sure. Because everything in this game is interconnected, you're like, well, it could do this or this or this. I know it has that symbol on it, but I'm not entirely sure. Well, an entire section on clergy tiles, and you just look at the numbers. So this one, what's here? This is number 23, so if I look from there, I'd say 23. Whenever I sell, each book is worth +2 raíz, which are the coins. It's, how you do some building and things. Same thing with the decree cards. If I look on decree cards and I say, okay, what is this one? So if I wasn't sure on what this one is, it's number 5. So I look on number 5 and I say, oh, for each open public building from this architect, earn a wig. So just each open public building. It doesn't have to be yours. So I just look at them like, oh, there's a ton of people that have built blue buildings, so buildings from the blue architect. Holy cow, that's going to be worth 6 wigs at the end of the game. I want to pick that up. Lots of stuff in here. In addition, it kind of talks over the political cards, which are these, which you have in your hand and you're drawing at the end of every turn, and it kind of gives you a little bit of a rule summary. On the board, if you can see down here, this actually gives you final victory point scoring. So if you're looking at it, how do we score victory points? What's scoring victory points at the end of the game? It tells you right there. Oh my goodness, there's a ton. This game takes place over 2, I think it's eras. So you have the first one, and the era can be triggered by one of 2 things. Either 3 of these 4 stacks of cards is gone. Every player is drawing a card at the end of their turn, because kind of what's fueling your actions is you're playing a card, like I said, either here to visit the nobles or here to go into your portfolio. And so 3 of those 4 stacks are gone, or someone has, I believe it's 2 rows of completed rubble. And then that will trigger the next phase where we get new cards, which are going to be upgraded and better, and other things. I haven't even talked about ships. Ships come over here. Ships are one way you can come out and you can earn victory points for it. Plus, like this one gives you an extra coin whenever you do a certain action. I've forgotten what that is. It's worth influence. The influence track, I haven't talked about that. That fuels a ton of stuff in this game, and you can use it for multiple ways. Like I said, and I'm sorry if I'm being a dead horse, because there is just so much going on in this game. But let me tell you how I feel about it. I love it. I am enamored with this game. It's difficult for me to get to the table because it is so heavy. And unless I have people that have played before, obviously there's going to be a pretty hefty rules explanation, even though I've kind of gotten it down now where I can explain it very well in a shorter period of time. There's still a lot that goes on with it, and it takes some time. I would say an average game of mine has taken about 3 hours. So it's not one that you're just sitting down for a quick one, but it's very fulfilling. When I sit down for that 3 hours, I feel great afterwards. And there's so much going on in this game that there's so much more that I want to do, that even though I've already been playing for 3 hours, I'm like, no, I want to do this, and I want to do this, and I also want to do this, and this, and this, and this, and this. I'm always wanting to do more. And that to me is a sign of a great game. When I feel like I've accomplished a lot, but there's still more that I want to do, you kind of reach the apex of that game in the lens. Some games I think kind of want to give the player that extra feel of joy, and it makes it so those games overstay their welcome, where you get to that uber powerful state and they're like, okay, you can stay here as uber powerful for quite a while until the game ends, and so you can feel great. But then once you get to that point, you're not building anymore, and you lose kind of the excitement of building, and it just overstays its welcome. This game does not do that. This game, you hit that point, you're like, I'm doing really well, I feel good about it, and then, okay. And I'm okay when it ends. I still want to do more, but I feel okay when it ends, and I feel very accomplished. Vital, well done. Eagle Griffin, well done. Ian O'Toole, well done. I've mainly played this game with 4 players. It does have a solo mode, and I'm going to try to do a solo review. So I'm not going to talk about how it plays solo. I'm going to do a completely separate review on that. I feel like I've probably rambled on enough for one video, and not even gotten close to going through everything that goes on in this game. But if this is at all interesting to you, if anything that what I've said, kind of piques your interest, you should check it out, because it is worth your time. When it comes to chunky, heavy Euros, this is one of the crunchiest. This really gets those Euro juices flowing. So, a lot of good stuff in this game, a lot of fun things that you can do, and now all I want to do is play it. So, thank you for watching. I'm Sam. This is Sam Says. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Check me out on Instagram, Facebook, and obviously on YouTube. If you have any games that you would like me to review, let me know in the comments section. Send me a direct message. I'd love to be able to give you my thoughts on whatever you'd like me to see. So thank you for watching, and have a great day.